A tax relief bill has now been signed into law by a Democratic governor. So this is a big win for Governor Healey, a big campaign promise. Massachusetts, however, is still one of the most expensive places to live in the country. Tell us what you're doing to address that and whether or not you think this tax relief plan will actually impact as big amount of people as we're hearing from state lawmakers.
Well, yes, in many cases, it is what's baked into this massive tax relief. We have one of the largest expansions of the child care tax credit, I think the largest in the country, that impacts a lot of people. We have senior tax relief impacting well over 100,000 seniors. We have rent relief impacting 800,000 renters. We baked in landlord relief to incentivize landlords to keep their rents below market. We put that in there. We're trying as many different avenues to make sure that we make living in Massachusetts as affordable as possible.
When it comes to making the state more competitive, though, wouldn't it have been better to tackle just one of the big taxes, the state income tax, just shave that, the gas tax, versus these kind of more targeted tax cuts?
I don't think there's any one solution to a massive problem, right? The unaffordability issue is more than just gas tax. It's more than just income tax. It's going to take a lot of different ways and different forms of relief to help the average family be able to afford Massachusetts.
Mayor Wu's bid to bring rent control back to Boston is now in the legislature's hands. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball. What do you think is going to happen?
Ooh, I don't know. Look, there's
cloudy.
Yeah, it's cloudy.
It's also controversial, though, right?
It's controversial, but I mean, in many aspects. That's one form of rent control. Not all I haven't gotten any other home rule petitions, or the state hasn't received any other form of it. There's also a competing, just let the cities and towns decide, but we don't know what that's going to look like. And then we also have one that specifically caps it at 5%. There's three different conversations right now in the State House, and there's a conversation about how we're going to accomplish it.
There's also a conversation about a ballot
initiative. That's one means, and then the question is, do we stay in the State House? So honestly, I will give a shout out to the advocates, though. The fact that we're even talking about rent control after a long time where you couldn't even say those words and get reelected, that I would give to the community, the advocates, those individuals that have made affordable rents part of our everyday vocabulary.
Well, it does speak to the affordability issue.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Mass and Cass. It's something that dates back to your time on Boston City Council. Mayor Wu is waiting on council approval to ban tents and tarps, and she's moving ahead on plans to rebuild the Long Island Bridge. Is she on the right path, and should the state be doing more?
I think that we need to understand Mass and Cass, while wholly located in Boston, is a regional concern. The individuals there are not just from Boston. It is a state concern. It is something that we all should be concerned about. Any one of us, including myself, could have a loved one, has had loved ones with an addiction issue, and could end up there. So for that perspective and that understanding, it needs to be a regional effort. It does need to include the state. I do think she's on the right track with rebuilding the bridge. I do think she is on the right track with looking at how we are making sure that we are isolating the issues to just substance use disorder there versus looking at human trafficking and other criminal activity, which she rightly said the tents are in the way of allowing law enforcement to take care of. It is going to take more than just the mayor of Boston, however, to fix this issue. It's going to take more than just the people of Boston. It's going to take us all.
All right. Well, it does rest on the mayor's shoulders right now.
Of course it does, and I don't think she's denying that in any way, shape, or form. At the same time, we have residents from all over the Commonwealth, if not the New England region, who are also there.
All right. Fair enough. State Senator Lydia Edwards, we'll leave it there. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thanks for being here.